Good afternoon and welcome to this latest week's edition of the Entertainment Show, where we talk about the upcoming premieres of movies being released here in Ireland and the UK, and we also talk about TV sort of sitcoms. And this week we're delighted to premiere two big blockbuster movies. We've already spoken so far earlier this evening to Jessica McNamee, who plays Sonya Blade in the upcoming blockbuster movie Mortal Kombat, and the other blockbuster movie coming to our screens this month is The Rat of Man. It stars Jason Statham and Holt McCallany in the two main leading roles. And we're delighted this evening to be joined by one of the stars of that movie, Holt McCallany, who plays the character Bullet. Holt, an absolute pleasure to talk to you this evening, coming from all the way from a busy sort of United States of America, sort of such. And tell me, Rat of Man, it's a Guy Richie movie. Guy Ritchie movies means action, it means intense, it means sort of thrillers, edge of the seat sort of stuff. Are we in for that all in terms of Rat the Man? Is that what we're going to come to see?
Absolutely. Yeah, nice to be with you.
Cheers,
Um,
Holt.
it's an action film. It's a thriller. It's actually a remake of a very good French film called Le Convoyeur, which basically means kind of armored car,
Yes.
and it's a it's a heist movie, and it's the original film starred two very talented French actors, Albert Dupontel and Jean Dujardin. And your viewers may remember Jean Dujardin because he won the Academy Award for Best Actor a few years ago for a film called The Artist.
Oh,
Do you
yes. The Artist. Such a classic movie.
A classic movie. So I'm in the Jean Dujardin part, and my friend Jason Statham is in the Albert Dupontel part, and it's really kind of got all of the qualities that you would come to expect from a Guy Ritchie film. So colorful characters and clever banter and great action sequences and a wonderful supporting cast, including Scott Eastwood, Jeffrey Donovan, Josh Hartnett, and a terrific Irish actress named Niamh Algar,
Okay.
and oh my God, and a wonderful Irish actor, Tig Murphy. He's a. I just want to make sure that I didn't say his name incorrectly because he'll kill me.
Tig is the correct pronunciation of that name, anyway.
Yeah, and he's so good in the film, and he's such a wonderful guy as well. And anyway, I just had such a great experience on the movie, and I think it came out really well.
And I suppose Holt, I was watching the trailer in terms of that, and we all know with Guy sort of Ritchie movies, everything is not what appears to be seems to be, and there seems to be a big sort of a twist, I suppose, in this sort of movie in terms of the backstory. Well, it seems to be playing around with sort of two sort of simple characters in an armored truck, but you'd sort of think in the background there's something deeper going on here, and I suppose that comes to pass.
Well, that's absolutely correct. And I mean, I don't want to give away too
Yeah.
much because I don't want to spoil the film for your viewers. But yeah, myself and Mr. Eastwood, Mr. Donovan, we are characters who were in the U.S. Army, and we were stationed in Afghanistan, and we're all sort of combat veterans who come back from the war a bit disillusioned, to be honest with you. And, we find ourselves kind of in dead end jobs and with financial problems. And so we end up falling into some criminal behavior. But the interesting thing I think about these guys is they're not really criminals; they're soldiers. They're just
Yes.
using skills that they learned in the military for nefarious ends, if I could put it that way.
And Holt, if I can ask you in terms of the production, in terms of shooting the movie, in terms of the location, I know the movie in fictionally is sort of set in sort of Los Angeles as such in terms of that. But can you tell us about the on set in terms of the main sort of action scenes, in terms of the stunt scenes? Where was it all sort of shot?
It's a great question. Yeah, listen, we did shoot some of it on location in Los Angeles, but we shot much of it in London,
Okay.
especially the interiors, and some of the action sequences, because of course our director Guy Richie lives in London
London, yeah.
and has made numerous films in London, and he has his team there and guys that he likes working with, and so we did. I'd say the lion's share of it in London, and then we moved. The whole company moved to Los Angeles, and then we did quite a bit of work in Los Angeles in terms of exteriors and some of the action.
And Holt, in terms of that, you mentioned the sort of moving from sort of one country to the other country in terms of shooting. Did sort of COVID sort of delay the project at any stages for you, or set you back in terms of your time scale, in terms of the finished project, or in terms of the release? In terms of that, was there any sort of hold ups, or did it really play any sort of major factor?
It's a really good question. You know, that did happen to me, but not on Wrath of Man. I have another film coming out with my good friend Liam Neeson.
Oh, Liam Neeson, yeah.
So that one will be coming out, I think, later in the summer. I was actually shooting a film after I finished Wrath of Man with Guy Ritchie. I went on to a film called Nightmare Alley with Bradley Cooper for the great Mexican director Guillermo del Toro, whom, of course, you will remember won the Academy Award for his last film, The Shape of Water. Okay. So we were shooting in Toronto, and when COVID hit, we had already wrapped Wrath of Man, and I was on Nightmare Alley, and COVID hit, and so we got shut down, and I got on a plane to come to New York, where I live, and I turned on my phone, and when I got to the airport, and I got a call saying, would I turn around and go right back to Canada to replace an actor in a Liam Neeson film who was refusing to travel because he was a cancer survivor and felt that he was at increased risk for the virus. So I got my bags from baggage claim, and I went and I checked in, and I went right back to Canada, this time to Winnipeg, which for your viewers who have never been to Winnipeg, it's in a place called Manitoba, and it's the coldest city in North America. It was 40 below zero. I don't know how Liam did it. He's a tough guy because he was there in January and February, 2 hours north of Winnipeg, where it was 50 below and colder. And I say those numbers, obviously that's Fahrenheit, you know, we use, but you know, like, I mean, unbelievably frigidly cold. But anyway, we finished that film, and by the skin of our teeth. We were the last film shooting in North America, and then we came back, and then there was a long break because of COVID, and I wasn't able to go back to work on Nightmare Alley. That was like March, and I don't think I went back to work till like September or something. A good 6 months of no activity.
I suppose in terms of Holt, you mentioned it's a busy time for you with Wrath of Man coming out. In terms of, you mentioned another sort of project with Bradley Cooper, another project with Liam Neeson. Just before I came on air with you, I had an interesting sort of discussion. You were talking about playing an Irish sort of a character. Do enlighten us in terms of that. We all like to hear about Irish characters. We got to hear about Robert De Niro playing an Irishman before in the sort of movie. So what sort of character do you play, and what sort of project is this?
Yes, well, unlike Mr. De Niro, and I mean no disrespect to Mr. De Niro, I did have the privilege of working with him years ago in a wonderful film called Men of Honor, okay. About Navy divers. Yeah. But to my knowledge, Mr. De Niro has no Irish ancestry, but I do. My father was from Dublin, and I went to school in Ireland. I actually started school in Dublin in Howth with the Christian Brothers when I was 5, and then I went back to school in Ireland and did my 5th year at Newbridge College in County Kildare. And my father actually produced the first Irish play that won the Tony Award on Broadway, which was Brendan Behan's Borstal Boy.
Borstal Boy, wow.
and the great Irish actor Neil Tobin was one of my father's oldest and dearest friends, and I got to visit Neil, in the hospital just before he died, and I was actually invited to participate in an RTE documentary about Neil's life, and that was a great honor for me because he is someone that I had always looked up to. But I have a long sort of history with Ireland and family in Ireland that I love very much, and I come back frequently to visit them. And I was sent a project about corruption in the Chicago Police Department, and they had cast myself and a wonderful Irish actor named Cillian Scott.
Okay.
In the two sort of leading police roles, and his character was named Rocco Andretti, and I was Lieutenant Tardelli. And of course, Cillian's from Dublin, and I'm Irish American, so I called the writer, a wonderful writer named Peter Moffat, a British writer who has a terrific show on Showtime right now that stars the great American actor Bryan Cranston, called Your Honor. It's just brilliant.
Oh, Your Honor, yeah, very much so.
Fantastic writer, and a really, really smart guy, a kind of expert in courtroom drama, a former British barrister, very, very intelligent guy. But I said to Peter, Peter, you're casting, a lot of Irish actors, and you're making us Italian, and I just wonder, do you know what I mean? Is there because there are a lot of Irish cops in Chicago? Is there some reason that we wouldn't be Irish? And so at that point, I became Francis Brannigan, and the other character became John Logan. And I kind of liked my character name because there was a famous Irish cop in Dublin named Lugs Brannigan. Do you remember Brannigan? If you look him up, Lugs Brannigan was an Irish cop in Dublin who was known for being a little bit of a headbanger. Do you know what I mean? He was a rough customer, and just like the mention of his name would make the bad guys kind of shake a little bit, and so and there had also been a film called Brannigan that stars John Wayne as a Chicago cop who goes to London to try to sort of teach the Irish bobbies how we do it in Chicago type thing. And it's not a great film, but it was one that I really enjoyed when I was a boy. So so I play an Irish cop from the south side of Chicago on a new television show called 61st Street, which is a limited series for AMC, and I think it's as I mentioned before the broadcast, it's kind of about the tenuous relationship between the Black Lives Matter movement and the Chicago Police Department, and so a very well written show with a wonderful cast. Unfortunately, Cillian wasn't not able to join us because of visa problems, but I think the show is going to get a lot of attention. And then from that, there are rumors that I might get to go back and do a third season of my Netflix show that I did for David Fincher, a show called Mindhunter,
Okay.
which was very well received internationally and was a great experience for me. But that's kind of in the talking stages, so I don't know if that'll actually happen or not, but I'm hoping that it will, because that's a great show too.
And I suppose, Holt, time is nearly caught up on us, and I've got one sort of question to ask you now, a sort of final one that make you sort of rack your sort of brain as sort of such. Let's pretend 10 years from now they did an encyclopedia about the movie Rat of Man, let's say, and they put your character Bullet in it. And let's say in the synopsis of Bullet, they left 2 blank sentences underneath it. And the agent who was putting together this encyclopedia rang your agent and said, can you get in touch with Holt McCallany? We want him to provide the synopsis for the character Bullet, having portrayed that role. So you have a biro, a pen and paper, you have to write those sort of 2 sentences to summarize Bullet. What would you like those 2 sentences to read?
Bullet is a very outgoing, gregarious, friendly, warm-hearted guy, a soldier who loved his country and served his country, but eventually realized that his service had been in vain. And so he crossed over to the dark side.
And Holt, lastly, before I go, it's just an interesting sort of question: is Jason Statham's martial arts skills as good as what they appear on TV? Having seen him up sort of close in terms of his action sort of fighting sort of skills, is he really? Does he do all these sort of stunts himself?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see any stuntmen stepping in for Jason at any time, and you know, he's a tremendously athletic guy. I mean, you may be aware that like he was like an Olympic caliber diver. You know, for the British national team. I mean, you know, you can go on YouTube and see, you know, videos of Jason. You know, when he was an athlete. I mean, yeah, he's the real McCoy.
He's the real McCoy, and definitely you're the real McCoy in Holt in terms of playing Bullet in Rat and Matt. Judging by the trailers and what I've seen so far, no doubt it'll be an outstanding success, not only across the pond in America, but also here in Ireland and the UK. We're eagerly awaiting its release. Holt McCallany, you played Bullet in the role of Rat and Man. It's coming out fairly soon. We do advise all our Irish listeners and our audience to, when it does come about, whether you can stream it online, watch it online. Hopefully, please God, the cinemas, the big theatres in Ireland will be open that stage where you'll be able to sit down and watch it with a bit of popcorn and a few Maltesers and enjoy Holt McCallany's role as Bullet in The Rat and Man, produced and directed by the one and only Guy Richie. But Holt McCallany, for the moment, you're a busy man. We let you off to your busy sort of schedule, and it's only the first of many projects we're going to see from you on our screens in 2021. But Holt, take care and God bless.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed the interview very much. Thank you for thinking of me.
Cheers. Take